Hey everybody, today is July 16th, 2018. I'm going to do a few live streams today. I think I'm going to do 3 of them, just on some posts that I made earlier this morning. And again, there's no podcast this coming weekend, so I'm just trying to get out a few videos while I can. Now, today we're going to talk about the United States and Russia summit between Trump and Putin. This is the first time that Trump and Putin have actually met in person since Donald Trump took office, which might seem like a surprise to a lot of people considering how much they're talked about together. Now, on this channel, I teach the language of Gematria, which is the ancient practice of coding numbers into words. The 4 ciphers on the screen, these are called the base 4 ciphers. And for those of you who are new to the study, it might be a lot to accept that there's 4 and even 6 base ciphers. I'll show you the larger number ones later. But once you accept that this is what's going on and just pay attention, the patterns become very clear and the connections are just overwhelmingly obvious. So in the news for the past several months, really ever since Donald Trump got elected, they've been talking about how Russia was responsible for helping him get elected by meddling in the election. It's just been one story after another about Trump and Russia, Trump and Russia. So, in the language of Gematria, Trump has a connection to Russia and its president, Vladimir Putin. Using the alphabetic order, where the letter A gets assigned the number 1, the letter B gets assigned the number 2, and so on all the way through Z as 26, the name Trump equals 88. T the 20th letter, R the 18th letter, U the 21st, and so on. The name Trump summing to 88. Also in the alphabetic order, the name Vladimir equals 88. The same calculation method, V the 22nd letter, L the 12th, A the 1st, and so on. So Vladimir equals Trump. Now, what I consider to be the most significant cipher to this study, partially because the numbers that it produces are much larger, leaving less room for coincidence, is the cipher called Jewish Gematria. And what this is based on the original Latin alphabet. So a lot of the organizations that were established today, that are present today, such as the Catholic Church, the Society of Jesus, this cipher is very significant to them because they were around before the present-day alphabetic order. Now, using Jewish Gematria, the name Trump equals 470. And this is pretty interesting because if you reverse the alphabetic order and assign Z as 1, Y as 2, through A as 26, the name Trump also sums to 47. So he has this double connection to the number 47 in Gematria. And 47 is a very significant number to this study. The Freemasonic compass has 47 degrees on it. The tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, which the sun travels between throughout the year, travels 47 degrees between those tropics. The word time in the alphabetic order equals 47. Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and when all the double-digit numbers are reduced to a single digit, this is called Pythagorean or reduction gematria. Using this method, president equals 47. When you reverse the reduction method, so for instance Z, the 26th letter, it would be the first letter with the reverse order. Then you get to like Q, which is the 10th letter in the reverse order. 1 plus 0 equals 1. White House equals 47 in this method. And there's only 2 parties that really vie for the White House here in America. You get to choose from either the Republican Party, which is 47, or the Democrat Party, 47 in reverse. So 47, very significant to Trump. Well, would you believe that in that same cipher, the Jewish Gematria, Russia equals 470. Now, if you follow any of my work, hopefully you've come to understand the significance of solar eclipses to this code. It seems as if events are plotted out within a certain number of days or weeks in relation to total solar eclipses that occur on the globe. And eclipses are fairly rare events. You know, they only occur 6, 7, 8 times per decade, depending. And these events, the last one to occur, of course, was the Great American Total Solar Eclipse in August of 2017. That was still the most recent eclipse, and there still won't be another one till the middle of next year. That would be 2019. And what's so interesting about Trump meeting up with Russia, both of them having 470 Gematria, is that it's been exactly 47 weeks and 0 days since the Great American Eclipse. Now, if you include the end date, yesterday, July 15th, was also 47 weeks after the eclipse. And think about who won the World Cup in Russia, Russia summing to 470. It was France. France equals 47 in the alphabetic order. So it's not just these news stories that are rigged. It's also these sports games, you know, professional sports here in America, international sports, especially soccer. As far as I can tell, they're all rigged. I mean, just look at the mistakes they make in the game. It's pretty easy to see that something's going on. And if you subscribe to my channel, I'm going to do another live stream a little bit later. And we're going to talk about that group Pussy Riot that came out to the field during the 52nd minute and delayed the game. Well, that was a staged ritual also by the numbers done by this code. And it's just more evidence to show you how that game was rigged. So Trump is meeting with the leader of Russia, and remember how when he met with Kim Jong-un, they met in Singapore. They didn't meet in either America or North Korea. They met at a neutral location. The same thing is happening for the United States and Russia summit. They're meeting in Helsinki, Finland, and Russia, using the alphabetic order, we were looking at the Jewish Gematria earlier. Now the other most significant cipher is just the alphabetic order, the one we use most often. Russia summing to 87 in this method, and the host city of this summit, Helsinki, summing to 87 in the same method. And this is the same thing we saw with the Korean summit. Trump met up with Kim Jong-un. Korea equals 50, alphabetic order. America summing to 50, alphabetic order. The name Donald summing to 50. Of course, America has 50 states. And they met in Singapore. Singapore equals 50 in the reduction method. So you see they're doing something along the same lines here. Earlier I mentioned the significance of the number 47 to Masonry, to time, and here we are 47 weeks after the total eclipse. Total eclipse equals 47 in reduction, which I neglected to put in this post, but that's another detail that's pretty important. So this 47 weeks, if you actually count the number of days, 47 times 7, you find it's 329 days. Now, in Gematria, I put this cipher up on the screen earlier. The English extended method is similar to Jewish, with much larger numbers, but it's based on the current alphabetic order. And in this method, when you add the Gematria of Trump and Putin, you get 1,329. You have that 329 sequence right there. And again, it's been 329 days since the eclipse. The 329th prime number is 2,207. And this 227 number is also very, very significant to Masonry and numerologists. In reverse reduction, ancient accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry equals 227. If you divide 22 by 7 on a calculator, you get 3.14, which is the first 3 digits of pi. And in the language of Gematria, 22 divided by 7 equals 314 in the alphabetic order. So this has a lot to do with how this language is built and the whole concept of letters and numbers together. After all, Gematria is geometry within the language. Geometry sums to 108 forwards and backwards, English ordinal and reverse. So this 227 number, very significant. And I'm going to pop open a cipher that I don't really use too often. It's the cipher that produces the largest numbers on average of any of the ciphers on my website. It's called reverse squares. So with the reverse alphabetic order, you would see how Z is 1, Y is 2. Well, this would be 1 and 4 because we're multiplying the number by itself before adding it to the equation. So in this cipher, which produces the largest numbers, Helsinki equals 2,207. And these prime number relationships are super significant to this study. Just go back and check any of my work. I talk about it all the time. So 329 days after the eclipse, the 329th prime number, 2207, and that's where the summit is being held. The nickname for this summit that they're giving it is the Trump-Putin summit, which sums to 2018 in Gematria, like the year that the summit is occurring in. And just to kind of show you here, this Wikipedia page, which I linked to, even says right here, hence also known as the Trump-Putin summit, you know, so this is a relevant phrase. It's not something I made up. In single reduction, where the S is only reduced once, it's basically full reduction with the S exception. Trump-Putin summit equals 83. And measuring to Vladimir Putin's next birthday gives us 83 days. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's birthday is June 14th. And if you include the end date, he's 33 days after his birthday. And 47, we talked about how significant that number is to Masonry with the compass and time. Well, Masonry sums to 33 in full reduction. And the highest degree of Masonry is the 33rd degree. So here's Trump, 33 days after his birthday. And if you measure to his next birthday next year, you find it's 333 days. This is also 1 month and 3 days. If you include the end date, it's 1 month, 3 days after his birthday, and 10 months, 30 days before his next birthday. And 13, that's this ritual code that I talk about. Looking at these square number ciphers, you know, isn't it funny that Masons equals 1313 and 1313? All right, so Vladimir Putin, he was born on October 7th. Let's see, I think it was 1952. Yes, it was. So on today's date, he's 24,023 days old. And let me explain why this is significant. These two great American total solar eclipses that will be creating an X over the nation, in essence, they're occurring 2,423 days apart. If you include the end date, 2423. And what's interesting about this number is that it's a prime number. 2,423 is the 360th prime number. And this is where we start talking about the biblical numerology part of it and the mark of the beast. So in the language of Gematria, beast sums to 47, so does Trump. Actually, Trump and beast also sum to 88. You'll see Trump, 88 and 47. But the beast is actually more or less time. Time also summing to 47 in the alphabetic order. And it's just the passage of time, the infinite loop of time, seems to be representative of the beast, based on the numerology and symbolism in the Bible. So 360 degrees, that's the number of degrees in a circle. And a circle, I believe, is the mark of the beast. Some people think it's a circle with an X in the middle of it. But absolutely, the circle is symbolic of evil in a sense. And there's a lot of support I have for this. If you check out the link in the description below, I have a link to this image in that post. And it explains why I think, essentially, the circle is the mark of the beast, per the numerology in the book of Revelation. So here's Putin meeting with Trump. Trump equaling 88 and 47, the same numbers as beast, 88 and 47. Vladimir Putin's full name is actually kind of funny. It's a little redundant. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. And I'm also going to look at these Kabbalah ciphers just to show you how many syncs there are. The English Kabbalah uses every 11th letter in the alphabet, and KFW is derived from that as well. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but all you need to know is that the name Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin sums to 313, 389, and then in the Kabbalah, 357 and 373. Now, in the King James Bible, 666, the number of the beast, is written as 603 And notice how it's the same four numbers in those alphabetic ciphers. And it's kind of creepy, right? Vladimir Putin with the same exact gematria as 603 in many of those ciphers. It's pretty wild. So measuring from Vladimir Putin's last birthday, it's been 283 days. And we're talking about the beast, time, and circles. Well, the moon is the largest observable circle in the sky, and it too is kind of representative of time and the beast, because without the moon, we wouldn't experience time as we know it here on Earth. So the moon sums to 283, Vladimir Putin 283 days after his birthday. One other thing worth pointing out, let's see. If you don't include the end date, Vladimir Putin is 9 months, 9 days after his birthday. And this is interesting because when Donald Trump visited the Queen, she was 9 months, 9 days before her next birthday. And 99 is an interesting number. First of all, the moon equals 99. You know how the moon sometimes completes 13 lunar phases per year? 13 summing to 99. The 99th prime number is 523, and in Satanic Gematria, Donald Trump equals 523. So all of these world leaders always have some sort of connection to the number 99 in their age when they meet up with this guy. Or so it seems. Now here's the last thing I want to talk about with this summit, and this one's really funny actually. This has to do with a news story that we got, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or so. We were told that 3 social media stars died when they fell 100 feet to save a woman at a waterfall, right? And I did a post on this because it was all by the numbers, and now I understand why this post, or why this story actually happened. Because again, it's not just these big world leader meetings that are rigged up by the numbers, it's a lot of the news too, because the news is fake. And, you know, they use the term fake news as if it were, you know, some sort of internet problem, some sort of issue with not enough censorship. But the reason they want to keep people such as myself from spreading this information, because they have deleted one of my channels already here, is because we're exposing how their news is fake. And really, it's just a battle of, you know, he said, she said. Unfortunately, they have the bigger press outlets and a better ability to reach more people. So anyway, these people fell 100 feet over a waterfall in British Columbia. And British Columbia sums to 100 in the reverse reduction method. This was, I think, the same day that Donald Trump was in Great Falls, Montana, which also sums to 100. And think about Great Falls, these people falling a great distance to their death. And just think of the whole concept, right? Chasing someone down a waterfall. Don't go chasing waterfalls equals 100. And if you think that's a joke, just see the rest of this post. I mean, this was all released in relation to the birthday of Lisa Lopez of TLC. They even put 2 llamas, LL. Go ahead and check my podcast out on my channel from this past weekend and see what they did with the numbers on this one. Well, this meeting, this whole Trump-Putin summit, this is going down today, July 16th, 2018. There's the date, July 16th, 2018, today. Well, exactly 100 years ago, there was the execution of the Imperial Romanov family in Russia, and it happened on July 16th to 17th, 1918. Exactly 100 years ago. So how strange is it that we got this story about people falling 100 feet? Well, look at this. Romanov, the name of the family, equals 98 and 35 reduction. Waterfall equals 98 and 35 reduction. Because Gematria, this simple, basic practice of coding numbers into words, is what they're using to script out our fake bullshit news. And, you know, I personally never heard about Gematria until a couple years ago. And, you know, it wasn't long after learning about it that I realized why we weren't taught it in school. Because if we were, then we would know a little bit too much about what's going on. And absolutely, this whole thing is ridiculous. I mean, who just jumps down, you know, a rocky waterfall to save somebody like that? I guess maybe I would, but it depends, you know. It's just the stories that they give us are so weird. They're always done by the numbers. And in this case, it's just undeniable what's going on, you know. This meeting exactly 100 years later, these people falling 100 feet, it's just ridiculous. So I'm just jumping in on the chat here. I'm going to shut the stream down in a little bit. I'm going to go back live probably in like 10 minutes or so and talk about the next story. You know, I think a lot of people have been asking if Trump will be dying, if he'll be assassinated or something. I personally don't think that's going to happen. I think you're just going to keep seeing tributes to it through the numbers. But they don't need so many big events to wake people up, because people are going to start looking for information. If the president dies, they're going to want to know the truth about it. They're going to start looking. And if they start looking, they might actually find the truth right now. I think that's part of the reason why we haven't seen so many big, huge false flag attacks as of late. You know, these school shootings are really the biggest things we're getting. And speaking of school shootings, today was the first day in court for Nicholas Cruz, the shooter in the Parkland high school shooting, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And if you include the end date, today is 153 days after the shooting. 153 is the 17th triangular number. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all the way through 17, you get a sum of 153. And think about how 17 kids were killed in the shooting. Survivors of the shooting went to a baseball game against the Chicago Cubs, and it went 17 innings. In Gematria, Marjorie Stoneman, the woman who the school is named after, her name sums to the 17th Fibonacci number. So this is a number we keep seeing stamped over and over again in this stupid ritual that's trying to convince kids that guns are bad and guns are the problem. And it's always done by the numbers. What's going on, Zenith? We got Casey Jones here, too. I linked to his blog and YouTube. I'll probably leave a link below after I'm done with this video, too. Those guys are doing amazing work. And this next video that I'm going to do is going to be on the Pussy Riot, jumping on the field during the World Cup final, how it was a staged ritual for feminism. And I got Casey Jones, a.k.a. Bobby Simpson, there to thank on that. So, all right, everybody. Thanks for seeking and speaking that truth. We'll talk to you soon.